Why are you more scared of ridicule than death? I am Ijoba Oputa, the torchbearer of reflection. I guide people from pain and frustration to peace by revealing through mirror portals the limitless self within. This awakening transforms fear and depression symptoms into joy, aligns wealth with divine purpose, renews the body with ease, and reshapes relationships so you can live and love as your most authentic self. Today we explore the real reason why you're probably more afraid of ridicule than death. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to break free from this crippling paradox using mirror portals. Remember, mirror portals are a tool. We'll construct an alternative reality through these mirror portals, one where this misplaced fear is exposed as false by issuing precise commands to the subconscious. You'll snap and just like this, remove these deep-seated, rooted blocks from your mind for good. If this resonates, remember to like, share, subscribe, because this series of revelations are not to be missed. So, what for crying out loud is responsible for this fatal predilection? Why do we fear ridicule more than death? No amount of logic can justify it. Choosing death over the possibility of failure, rejection, or being laughed at? It's madness. Yet this paradox thrives and abounds. Its resolution couldn't be more urgent, because ridicule, failure, rejection are the very gateways to fulfillment, growth, and greatness. And until we dissolve this distorted fear, true accomplishment will always remain just out of reach. The common explanation is that this fear is hardwired in our DNA. As the story goes, thousands of years ago, rejection by the tribe meant isolation. And isolation at the time meant death from dinosaurs or predators, whatever. So on a primal level, ridicule, as the story goes, felt like exile, or rather feels like exile. And exile feels, because of our DNA, like dying. That's the hypothesis. This ancient survival idea probably still runs quietly in the background, sabotaging our boldness and silencing our truth, and probably shrinking our potential as we cower before challenges that seem life-threatening. And I must say, and I'll concede that this hypothesis may hold some truth, but allow me to offer an alternative, one rooted in the spiritual fourth dimensional perspective of the order of unified resplendence. As infinite spiritual beings, this adventure we call life is in essence a task to align with our limitless nature while navigating the confines of three-dimensional space, that is, flesh, blood, and perceived reality. As you already sense, the opinions we form of ourselves directly shape how well we carry out this sacred task. But when, through sacred and deliberate forgetfulness, we begin to descend into distorted conclusions about who we are, conflict arises. A clash between the grand superconscious and the misunderstood limited self. When this self-misconception becomes too extreme, the disparity between who we truly are and who we believe ourselves to be becomes unbearable. A soul-deep pain, worse than being set ablaze, emerges. This is why someone already teetering below the threshold of self-acceptance may become paralyzed at the mere thought of failure, rejection, or embarrassment. Now, it's not because they're weak, but because their fragile self-concept cannot bear another blow. You see? And so it feels like a life or death situation. So the solution isn't to logically convince the mind that the perceived dangers of embarrassment are harmless, which is what most therapists and psychologists attempt to do. The real solution is to fortify the concept of self. You see? To expand and elevate your self-awareness. That expansion should be to the point where there's a wide safety zone between your true essence and the threshold of harmful self-misconception. When this inner buffer I'm speaking about is strong, you can withstand countless failures, rejections, and embarrassments, and not just survive them, but grow through them, because they no longer threaten your identity. And here's the secret. This is far simpler than it sounds. Thomas Edison has said, I think it was Edison, failed 10,000 times before he made the light bulb. You have to fail to succeed. So we begin not with therapy, not with logic, and not with blind repetition, but with commands, precise prompts designed to penetrate the subconscious and alter the self-concept at its root. And thanks to the advent of AI programming and AI engineering, or rather AI prompt engineering, there's never been an easier way to explain this. Think of your subconscious as a vast, highly intelligent, but literal language model. Just like AI, it responds to prompts, but the effectiveness of the prompt depends entirely on the clarity of the intention and the precision of its construction. What we are creating here is not a mere affirmation. As a matter of fact, I detest affirmations. In popular use, affirmations have become little more than feckless mantras, repeated phrases like, I am enough, or I am successful. Now, affirmations are good for manifestation, but when it comes to understanding the quality of who you are inherently, we need to go a step higher. You see, because affirmations, when it comes to adjusting the self, basically adjusts surface level perception over perhaps a 30-day window if you're lucky. What I am referring to is a level higher, sharper, tailored, alive. The subconscious does not respond to noise. It responds to coherence. Every individual is entangled in a unique configuration of misconceptions, a custom puzzle that obscures their true self. If you wish to dissolve this veil that blocks your expansion, you cannot chant generic phrases and hope for transformation. You must engineer a bespoke prompt, a verbal and energetic command that speaks directly to the fault line in your identity structure. When this command is crafted correctly and deployed through the power of observation, especially mirror-based observation, the results are not only accelerated, they are almost immediate. You begin to see through the lie. The veil tears. The misconception that once magnified rejection into existential threats becomes inert. You see the illusion as an illusion, and your sense of self expands in its place. This is how we vaccinate the subconscious against false inferences. This is how we upgrade our identity with the precision of a prompt and the force of focused observation. One such command, generational artifact, was developed by my grandfather during one of the darkest moments in the 20th century. Amid the harrowing siege of the Tobruk garrison in World War II, Allied soldiers were being psychologically dismantled by what we now call PTSD. Back then it was known simply as shell shock. But no name could contain the spiritual fracture it caused in those men. While traditional treatments failed, my grandfather introduced a prompt. It was deceptively simple. With respect to fear, my mind is silent. Now, if this phrase were used as an affirmation, repeated passively, without understanding, it would have been worthless. But that's not how he deployed it. Instead, it was used as a command targeted directly at the subconscious and activated within a simulated alternative reality using the mirrored construct. This quantum box thus created an out-of-body observation that allowed the prompt to bypass the conscious mind, bypass the intellectual mind, and access the subconscious unfiltered. In that altered state, the phrase wasn't just a mantra, like an affirmation. It was a sword. With respect to fear, my mind is silent. See, that dismantles the conditioned panic. And then it cracked the illusion of threat. It restored coherence between perception and truth. Just like that, the veil began to tear. This is not psychology. This is a mirror-based prompt. It's a prompt engineered through the technology of identity refinement that predates modern nomenclature. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. And if there are things you wish you could do, opportunities you dream of reaching for, but fear of ridicule holds you back, I want to hear from you in the comments below. Maybe you're afraid to socialize, talk to that special girl or that special guy. Maybe you're afraid to stand up for yourself. Maybe you're afraid to make that speech or start that business or write that book or sing that song. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Really. And if you would like to fortify your sense of self so that you may surge forward unapologetically towards the life you know is yours, book a call. Together we will unravel your puzzling veil of fear so that you may emerge gallant and victorious. Peace and blessing.